Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Neglected and Becomes the God of Creation and Destruction Part 11. Before we start, please go support Ethan 1939 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Art 66 Guillotine Cutter. An Issei can be seen looking at a beautiful girl her age while she is lying in a large pile of white feathers. Kiss shot. Hello, Ice-kun said while looking at Issei with a cheerful smile. Issei. Kiss shot. Is it really you? He said looking at the girl. Kiss shot. Of course it's me, why wouldn't it be? Issei. Well, it's a big change, plus you're not flat anymore, he said while making fun of the vampire a little. Kiss shot. The last thing offended me, but it's me, kiss shot, she said while bowing slightly. Issei only looked at the large pile of feathers around him to look back at the girl. Issei. Was all this you too? Kiss shot. That's right, my powers are already returning, I must thank you, Ice-kun said with a cute smile. Issei. Ice-kun. What happened to my servant? Kiss shot. Well, let's say that now I see you as a little more than a servant besides. He said she while giving her a beautiful smile. I realized how much you are very handsome. Issei only blushed a little, so he sat next to the girl. Issei. Ooh, I understand you are at that stage, right? He said looking at the girl with mockery. Sorry, kiss shot, but I already have a whole harem, plus they get very upset when I add a new girl to my harem, so calm down. He said to put his hand on her shoulder. I know you will find someone. Issei gave him a big smile, but he only received a strong blow to the face that sent him flying a couple of meters. Kiss shot. I'm not talking about that, Baka, I'm just saying that now that we're the same age I should treat you like my equal or something, he said she while she was blushing. Issei. Ouch, are you sure it's not because you're at that age? You really flatter me, but I repeat that I already have many girlfriends and I have probably had more hex in my life than you have in centuries, she said as she stood up. Kiss shot. Shut up, servant, she said, she annoyed. Issei. Haha, looks like you're back, she said with a smile. Kiss shot, seeing Issei's smile, only blushed while she looked away. Issei. Well, excuse me, she said as she lay down on the pile of feathers. I'm going to sleep here for a while, she said as she closed her eyes. Kiss shot was only bothered by Issei's calm and teasing attitude, but she also decided to sleep for a while. She is just lying on Issei's side while they both closed their eyes. Issei's mind. Issei was once again in the middle of those two paths, one white and one black, well, those two people saw him again. Issei this time took out his revolver and shot them, making them disappear for a few moments. Issei just sighed to walk a few meters until he reached some kind of door. He opened it and saw himself, the younger version of himself, being mistreated by the idiots from his school. The brown Issei was being tortured and beaten, while Issei only watched this with some anger. He knew that he couldn't do anything anymore, that it was just a memory, but he felt hatred when remembering those dark memories of his life. Issei only clenched his fists, but at that moment an Issei with black hair and a black suit appeared behind him to start speaking. Issei too. It makes you angry, right? Come on, why don't you kill them? It would be fun, right? Liquidate them and kill their family in front of them, come on, you just have to let your evil out, come on, come on. Issei felt more and more angry as he pointed the gun at the bullies. He was about to pull the trigger, but a voice from him took him out of his dreams. Kiss shot. Issei. Out of Issei's mind. Kiss shot. Issei. Issei woke up suddenly to see a kiss shot looking at him worried. She was only seeing Issei while the albino got up. Issei. What's wrong? Kiss shot. I was going to ask you the same thing, you were sweating and black flames were coming out of your body, are you really okay? Did you have a nightmare or something? Issei just stared at the ground while she remembered her dream. Issei. Yeah, just a nightmare, that was all. After that strange dream, Issei could no longer sleep normally and he was just looking at the ceiling of the room where she was while she was chatting with Kiss shot. Kiss shot. I see, it seems that your life is very interesting, my servant, she said while she was on Issei's chest. Issei. Not as much as you think, I guess I was just a little lucky, apparently I was always lucky, she said with some nostalgia. I can't imagine myself being a normal person now. Kiss shot. I see, it seems that you had a hard life, but as the saying goes, there is always a good reward at the end of the struggle. Issei. Haha, yes, I guess, and tell me, how many years have you been a vampire? He said looking at the girl. Kiss shot. Not as much as you think, I think only about 500 years in total, she said simply. Issei. Even that is still a lot, he said looking at the girl, and tell me something, you haven't had another servant besides me, right? Kiss shot at that moment did not answer and she just stayed silent as she hugged Issei's chest. Issei. What's wrong? Kiss shot. And nothing, but to be honest, you are my second servant, the first. He died. Issei. Did he die? That they weren't immortal. Although I know that if they can die, I doubt that someone killed them, what happened to them? She asked curiously. Kiss shot. That surely won't matter to you, she said while she had a somewhat sad look. Seeing that look, Issei only stopped asking questions so that both of them could continue talking about some things for a while longer. Issei after a while saw how it was getting cloudy, the clouds covered the sun, while Kissshot saw that with a charming smile. Kissshot. What a joy, the sun is setting earlier. Issei. It seems like you like the night much more than the day, although I think it's normal since we catch fire when the sun rises, she said while she watched the clouds with a blonde. Kissshot. The sun is something that bothers all vampires, on the other hand the moon, the night for us is the best, vampires gain strength when the sun sets, so it is normal for us to prefer the night, he said with a smile. Issei. I see, ha, being a vampire is more complicated than I had imagined. They both saw how the sun was setting, but at that moment an Ashino had appeared somewhat tired while he was somewhat dirty. Issei. Ashino. What's happening? Ashino. Forgive me, Issei, I failed, I told you I was going to protect that girl, but I failed, she said with her head down. Issei. What? Ashino. He has her, Guillotine has Yuki, he will kill her if you don't go to a square a few hours from here, he said, while Issei opened his eyes in shock as he stood up. Issei. Where is she said looking at Ashino. Ashino. He said that if you don't get there in about 5 minutes he will kill your friend, he is in the central square of the city. Issei, I told you not to do anything that could make you stop being like before, but right now you will have to throw away a little of your humanity, he said looking at Issei. Time skip. And Issei can be seen looking at a watch while he was on the street. After Ashino quickly told him the details about her, he only had 2 minutes to find Yuki before that bastard killed her. Issei just sighed to begin to slowly lose more of his humanity, or well what little he had left. Issei's body began to fill with lightning, Issei only opened his eyes to begin to see everything in slow motion, Issei saw the clock hand stop little by little, until Issei took a step and began to run at a beastly speed. Issei began to run, completely surpassing and breaking the sound barrier. Due to the great speed and the great blow when breaking the sound barrier, everything around him suddenly shook, causing some cars to fly behind him. Issei did not stop at all because of that and continued running, little by little, he stopped seeing the lights around him, and in a second he disappeared, giving the understanding that he even exceeded the speed of light. On another side, you can see a man with a black trench coat standing in the middle of a square, while he was holding a girl with black hair and horns by the neck, almost choking her. Guillotine. It seems that your boyfriend won't arrive in time, he said, looking at the fact that there were only about 30 seconds left. Yuki just struggled but couldn't do anything, his weapons had been thrown away by the man, and although he was just a normal human, he had greater strength than Yuki. Guillotine only took out a knife, seeing that there were about 20 seconds left, but before she could point it at Yuki, they both heard a big explosion, and in the blink of an eye they saw an Issei appear covered in lightning. Guillotine. Ooh, impressive, really a good entry, it shows that you are someone strong, he said while looking at Issei. Issei. Let her go now, he said seeing the man. Guillotine. Don't worry, I'll let her go, killing her was just so you would come quickly, she said with a smile. Do you know something? I am a simple human, I may not have that supernatural strength of demons or vampires, but it makes up for how good a strategist I am, so your pretty little friend won't die, but you will, he said with a macabre smile. You will die right now or else she will, he said as he pointed his knife at Yuki's neck. Issei, upon hearing what the man said, only frowned while Yuki tried to free himself from his grip, but the man only tightened his grip more and more, causing the air little by little to not be enough, and the succubus little by little to lose consciousness. Issei. You're a cheating bastard. Guillotine. Come on, do not be like that, I know that someone else would have simply killed her and abused her, I only ask for one life for another, it is a barter, and I recommend that you hurry since the girl is fainting, said, while Yuki gradually lost consciousness. Yuki. And don't do it. Issei. Issei just clicked his tongue to begin raising his hands in surrender. Guillotine, upon seeing that, only started to laugh, but at that moment Issei's arms turned into vines. The vines trapped the exorcist, hitting him hard against the ground while he was tied up by them. The vines trapped Yuki, bringing her closer to Issei, while the exorcist only spit out blood from the blow. Guillotine. Damn, this is cheat. Issei. Well, I guess we're equal now, bastard. The vines lifted the exorcist so that they became a large tree, and while the clouds had already covered the sun completely, at the top, in what looked like a wooden cross, the exorcist was knocked out. Issei. Next time. I will kill you. Issei only had Yuki in his arms, while his hands still looked like vines. Yuki, little by little she was regaining consciousness, and when she opened her eyes, she only saw an Issei giving her a friendly smile. Yuki. Issei. Let's go home, Yu-chan. Time skip. Kissshot. So you saved Mobile Foodie? She said looking at Yuki sleeping. Issei. I couldn't let her die, you know. It's important to me, she said while she also watched how Yuki was sleeping. Ashino. Well, I already talked to the idiot Guillotine, he will give me Kissshot's arms in a few hours, for now just let the girl rest. Issei left the room along with Kiss Shot. The vampire alone went to another room, while Issei went to talk for a few seconds with Ashino. Issei. Ashino, there is something that doesn't add up to me, he said, thinking. Ashino. And that's it? He said she while lighting a cigarette. Issei. You already know that I'm part angel, right? And that some angels can feel the life force of people and animals. Ashino. Yes, I know, but what does that have to do with it? Issei. Ashino. Why do I feel Kiss Shot's life force in you? He said, looking at the man. Ashino. Ooh, that, ha 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 ha, so you finally realize Well. Stay still and in total silence, and you will know, he said with a smile. Issei only did what the man told him, and at that moment he could hear it, a very strange noise that little by little became clearer and clearer. That sound sounded like Tootin' tootin' tootin'. Issei just opened his eyes in surprise and they sounded like Ashino. Heartbeats, right. They sounded like heartbeats, but it's not from my heart or yours, those heartbeats are from Kiss Shot. Ashino from a small pocket of his Hawaiian shirt pulled out something that Issei found impossible to have. I in Ashino's hands. Was a real heart. Issei. That's him. Ashino. That's right, it's the heart of the same Kiss Shot Axelera or Iron Heart under blade. I took it out myself, in a delicate and careful way while he was sleeping, he said with a proud smile. Ashino just threw it at Issei, and he caught it with some nerves. Ashino. When you give it to him next to his arms, he will recover all his power again, and you will be able to be normal and return to your girls and friends, he said simply. And something else. As he got up. Forget the 5 million yen. Issei only saw Ashino with a strange face, but the blonde only answered quickly at Issei's look. Ashino. Come on, don't look at me like that, you should be happy since your debt has disappeared. Just take it as payment for my carelessness with your friend. Well. I'm leaving. I have to see the end of this story somewhere else. For now, take care of yourself and make good decisions, Issei-kun. And before he forgets, you should ask Kiss Shot to turn you back to normal before you feel like eating people. After Ashino said those words to Issei, he left alone, leaving Issei with Kiss Shot's heart in his hands. Time skip, and Issei can be seen looking at a beautiful vampire who was with a charming smile as she looked at Issei. Kiss Shot. Hello again, my servant. Art 67. A decision. A beautiful vampire can be seen on a pile of white feathers as she laughs with a big smile. Kiss Shot. It's good to be back to normal, he said while looking at her hands and adult body again. Issei only saw that beautiful vampire with a smile while she smiled back at him. Issei. Well, now that he has all your power. I don't want to sound hasty, but could you return me to normal? Kiss Shot just stood up as he looked at Issei in a bored manner. Kiss Shot. Do you want to be like before that much? Issei. It's not that, it's just that I'm hungry and I don't know if it's the normal type of hunger or the vampire type of hunger, he said with some nerves. Kiss Shot. Jijiji, come with me, my servant. Time skip. You can see an Issei and a Kiss Shot look at the beautiful city, illuminated by the lights of the houses and the street lamps. Kiss Shot. It's really beautiful, don't you think? Here where there is no noise and there is only the night sky, he said while he also looked at the beautiful stars. Issei. Yes, something. But back to the main topic, why did you bring me here? Kiss Shot. I just wanted to be alone with you for a while and also teach you something, he said as he stood up. The blonde, using her hands, opened her stomach from where she took out a sword, a long sword at least 2 meters long. Kiss Shot. You asked about my first servant, right? Well. He was a samurai, he said while showing the sword. But not a normal one, he was a hunter of eccentricities. He died years ago and this was his weapon with which he himself hunted eccentricities, he said while having a smile. He gave it to me years ago. Kiss Shot. The name of the sword is Kokurotari, the sword kills eccentricities, he said with a smile. Issei. I see, so your first servant was a samurai and exorcist, and tell me how he died. I asked curiously. The smile on Kiss Shot's face disappeared to sit next to Issei again. Kiss Shot. He committed suicide, he said, leaving Issei in shock. Issei. What? But how they are supposed to be immortal? How did he commit suicide? Kiss Shot. Although it may sound impossible, this happened, I saw it myself. He exposed himself to the sun, and like every vampire he caught fire until he died. He turned into ashes. There is no way he could have survived, but looking at Issei. You remind me a little of him, you and he were the only ones to only say Kiss Shot to me. Issei. I see. Sigh. And you don't know why he committed suicide? Kiss Shot. Well. The life of an immortal vampire like me is boring, time is relative, we never age and for us the world and life is just a simple game. I guess he committed suicide out of boredom, said simply. Issei. Sigh. Vampires really are complicated. Kiss Shot. Jijiji, you know, I also thought like that until you appeared. I saw my life as something very boring, but haha, since you appeared I think it's not as boring as I saw it before, she said while putting Issei's face on her breasts. Issei. Hey, let me you suffocate me. After Issei left the blonde's breasts and Issei just stood there looking at the beautiful city, Killshot put away his gun after he showed Issei the power of him. They both just stood together while also looking. The stars. Killshot. Tell me servant, what will you do when you stop being a vampire? Issei. I guess I'll go back to my normal life, go back to my girls and of course my friends, hehehe, maybe have a big party, who knows, but there's still a lot going on. I have to get rid of a bastard who's trying to destroy the world and also liquidate a cell of terrorists. My life is somewhat complicated, said while Killshot snuggled into Issei's chest. Killshot. It seems like you have your hands full, Jijiji, although it seems like you matured at a very young age, he said, while looking at Issei. Hey, I told you about my life and my past, so I think it would be fair you're going to tell me about your past, don't you think? Issei. My old life is something I don't want to remember, but whatever. After a while Issei told Killshot a little about his life while he was listening to Issei's every word. Killshot. I see, it seems that you had a very hard life, my servant, she said as she continued hugging Issei's chest. Issei. I won't bother telling you anymore that I'm not your servant, she said as she looked at the charming night sky. Killshot. Well, it will be dawn soon, it's time to return you to normal, don't you think? Issei just stayed quiet for a while, so he could smile a little. Issei. Yes, but first, he said as she stood up, I will enjoy my last day as a vampire, he said with a smile. Killshot. What? Issei. I'm not going to deny it to you, I really liked being a vampire, I can even transform my arms into wood, it reminded me a lot of the first Hokage, but apart from catching fire when I'm under the sun and stuff, I really like it so. Haha, I will enjoy a great party with you before returning to normal, he said she with a big smile. Killshot could only widen his eyes as a beautiful smile formed on her face. Killshot. Jijiji, you really are very funny, well I guess that's okay, so. Well. How about you bring some food to celebrate? How about you bring mobile food? Issei. As ordered, my beautiful mistress, she said, bowing as if she were a servant. Issei just started laughing alongside Killshot while Issei left to get some food. Issei after a while alone went to a mini-market where he bought some things like snacks and drinks. Issei returned with a big smile, she really couldn't deny that she had grown fond of the vampire, she literally watched her grow up and she even told him her secrets. This also opened her heart a little to Killshot and Issei felt a lot of love and affection towards her. Issei just put that aside and continued up the stairs to go to the vampire. When he opened the door to the room where she should be, Killshot was just shocked. Issei dropped the bags, letting them fall to the ground while she watched Killshot devour a person. Issei only watched as Killshot devoured the guts of those people like an animal, but Issei could distinguish the person she was devouring, that dead person without guts on the ground, was the exorcist who had kidnapped Yuki. Guillotine. Killshot, upon hearing Issei's bags fall to the ground, only turned to look at him while she had the head of the exorcist in her hands. Issei. Killshot, what are you doing? She said as she looked at the girl covered in blood. Killshot. Ooh, nothing, just this idiot came looking for revenge, still annoying, but unfortunately for him, he found me and well. I was hungry and I ate him, she said while devouring the exorcist's face with a smile. Killshot. He was really hungry, he hadn't eaten such good food for years, although his flesh was somewhat wrinkled, the blood and flesh of him had been preserved very well. Issei. What the hell are you doing, she said while she looked at the vampire with an angry look, you can't do that, that is wrong. Killshot. But. My, servant. If I don't. Parasier. Issei at that moment opened his eyes in surprise as he remembered what she really was. She wasn't a human or some supernatural being like Rias, she was a vampire, and one who didn't use the eating methods of current vampires, she killed and devoured people like the ancients did. Vampires. Issei just lowered his head while Killshot looked at him somewhat curiously. Killshot. What's up, my servant? Didn't you say you would celebrate your last day as a vampire? Where is mobile food? Issei. Food. Mobile. Killshot. Yes, that succubus girl, I thought she would be your meal today. Issei just slapped Killshot in the face, surprising her for what the albino did. Issei. Stay away from her, do not touch her. Killshot could only see Issei's look full of fury while he little by little began to shed tears. Issei just turned around to leave, leaving a Killshot somewhat depressed. With Issei was in a large abandoned school warehouse. Issei began to destroy the entire warehouse while he screamed and roared with anger. Issei was totally furious, how could he be so stupid to help her? This was the first time he regretted having helped someone, he knew that maybe he killed many innocent people in his past, and he also knew that guillotine's idiot was a damn idiot, but he was an innocent person who was just doing his job. He already knew why he even used those methods to kill him, if he didn't kill Killshot. He would continue killing and devouring innocent people, and he thought that he was equal to her now that he was a vampire. Maybe he had kidnapped Yuki before and threatened her with death, but he was only doing her job of eliminating possible threats to the world or creatures that endangered humanity. Issei, after a while where he destroyed the entire warehouse to get even a little, was alone on the floor lying on a mat thinking about his girls. Issei. Sigh, I could really use her help, maybe you guys would have helped me make a good decision, he said while watching the sun's rays begin to come out. Issei was still looking at the ceiling of the room, but at that moment someone Issei knew knocked on the door. Yuki. Issei. Are you okay? Have you finished destroying the room? I asked from the other side of the door. Issei. Yuki, were you awake? He asked while he opened the door and saw the girl face to face. Yuki. For a while now, in fact the big bangs and bangs that came from here woke me up, he said while he saw how everyone in the room was destroyed. Issei. I am sorry. It's just. Sigh. It's a long story. I'm Skip. Yuki. I see, that was very bad, but it's not your fault, you couldn't help it, he said while both were sitting looking at the ceiling of the room. Issei. If she hadn't just helped her in the subway this wouldn't. Yuki. That doesn't matter anymore, the important thing is the present not the past, she said while she was trying to cheer up Issei. Issei. And what do I do now? I don't know if she can kill her, I sighed. I'm an idiot. Yuki. Don't say that about yourself, you're not an idiot, you're an Issei hero, she said while she rested her head on Issei's shoulder. Issei. Even if you tell me that, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yuki. Well, that's easy, tell me, do you want to go back to your friends? Issei. Yes, I do. Yuki. You want to walk in the sun again, right? Issei. Yes. Yuki. And you want to have fun like before, right? Issei. That's right. Yuki. Then you know what you have to do, he said she with a smile. Issei. Thank you very much, Yuki, I really needed it, she said while she hugged the black-haired girl. She just blushed at being so close to Issei, but she just smiled as she felt his warm embrace. Issei. Well. I guess I'll have to train, she said standing up. And you must help me, she said, pointing at the black-haired girl. Yuki. What I? Issei. That's right. You must help me with something very important, he said while a somewhat evil smile formed on her face. Yuki. And that's it? Issei. Well. As you must already know, Kiss Shot has very big breasts, so I had to train my concentration so as not to get distracted in combat, so Yuki. Take off your bra. Yuki. What I can't do that. Issei just started laughing while Yuki had a big blush. Yuki. Well. Just turn around, okay? Issei at that moment stopped laughing to see Yuki's blushing but determined look. Issei. Wait, don't do it, it was just a joke, he said stopping the girl. She paid no attention and with a determined look little by little, he began to take off his shirt. Before she could get to more, Issei grabbed her wrists and put her against the ground, preventing her from moving. Issei. Why, Yuki, please stop, it's just a joke, you don't have to do that, she said, avoiding seeing the succubus's big breasts. Yuki. But I want to do it, she said blushing. Issei. Yuki. I know you already have many wives, and I'm probably not as beautiful as them. But still. I want to do this. Issei, please make love to me, she said, she looking at Issei in her eyes. Issei. You want me to? Yuki. Yes, I want you to take my first time, I love you, Issei-sama, so please take my purity. Issei just looked at a totally blushing Yuki while she had a look full of love. Issei could only sigh and smile as he made out with Yuki. Issei after a moment released Yuki's wrists so that she was hugging Issei, wrapping her hands behind his albino's neck. Their lips began to approach until they both gave each other a deep and tender kiss. They both joined in a kiss, which lasted approximately 20 seconds until they both separated to take a breath, leaving a trail of saliva. Yuki. Please, Issei-sama, take my virginity, I want to be yours, said blushing. Issei. Are you sure about this? I am somewhat possessive, and well. It doesn't fill me with pride, but maybe I am a silly womanizer. Yuki. Jijiji, I already know that, but I don't care. I love him, Issei-sama. Hearing those words, Issei just kissed the girl again. They both lay down on the mat to start kissing passionately. Lemon skipped, please read it on website. Issei. Riaz is surely going to kill me, he said while hugging Yuki. Yuki. You know it's rude to name another girl when you just did this kind of thing with someone else, right? He said as they snuggled into Issei's chest. Issei. I told you I was stupid, but thank you. Yuki. Thank you. Because. Issei. For opening my eyes and for helping me, I really owe you a lot, he said while hugging the black-haired girl. Yuki. Well. I still have a lot of energy, so. Whispering. Please, Issei-sama, make me feel much more pleasure. Issei upon hearing that just smiled so that both of them would begin to love each other again. Heart 68 Kiss Shot Acerola Orion Heart Under Blade. The day was a beautiful night, the stars and the moon illuminated the sky while most people were sleeping, but in the middle of a stadium, there were two particular people. One of them was an albino with a black trench coat who was looking at a beautiful woman with blonde hair and a perfect body. They both stood in the center of the stadium looking at each other, while a certain black-haired succubus looked at her lover from afar. Kiss Shot. It seems like you finally made a decision, she said looking at Issei. Issei. That's right. And when I defeat you must obey me, she said looking at the blonde. This shot. Hahaha, of course, but only if you beat me. I also see that mobile food is watching us, she said, looking at the black-haired girl in the distance. Issei. Haha, she's just waiting. Your opponent here. Is me, she said as they both prepared to fight. This shot. Tell me, my servant, do you really want to be normal again? At that moment Issei's mind became cloudy while the world around her suddenly changed. The stadium disappeared to show a beautiful meadow full of beautiful and varied flowers, and in these were multiple kiss shots. Kiss shot. You could stay with me forever, said the kiss shot girl. Kiss shot. Just you and me in eternity, said a kiss shot who was walking among the flowers while she gave a beautiful smile to Issei. Kiss shot. Be even mine and only mine, be my pretty and obedient servant, said the adolescent kiss shot. Kiss shot. And spend eternity with me, she said the adult kiss shot. Issei only saw those 4 kiss shots while they approached Issei, each one tenderly hugged Issei, but he only closed his eyes while his black flames began to consume everything around her. Issei opened his eyes again seeing a kiss shot who looked at him in a neutral way. Issei. Your vampire powers and tricks won't be able to catch me, you know I'm much stronger than that, he said looking at the vampire. Kiss shot. Hahaha, hahaha. This she just started laughing while she looked at Issei. She is after laughing she composed herself to look at Issei again. This shot. I know, but it was a good try, but do you really want to go back to how it was before? Now you are someone who would destroy the gods and could even destroy the world with a snap, do you really want to go back to the way it was before? Issei. You know that doesn't matter to me, besides I can do all that now, and above all. I want to go back to my old life, go back to my girls and friends. I want to go back to being like before, she said as a smile formed on her face as she remembered her friends. This shot upon hearing that only became serious as he began to take a combat stance. This shot. Then it's time to start this, he said as his fangs sharpened and became bigger than before. Issei also took a combat stance while both of them looked at each other. Issei. I'll only ask once, what do you think of humans? This shot. They are nothing but food. Issei. So if you think that, I've already made a decision. Die by my hand. Mistress. This shot. Die by my hand. My servant. Both disappeared in a parade while a large wave of air was formed as they appeared again, this time in the center of the stadium, while both bumped fists. They both stepped back so that Issei kicked Kiss Shot's head off, causing a geyser of blood to come out of his wound. Issei turned around and saw in shock how Kiss Shot's head regenerated instantly. He knew that he was immortal and everything, but he never saw how even after they ripped off his head, he still seemed to be alive. Kiss Shot smiled evilly as he hit her back, causing Kiss Shot's head to separate from his neck. Issei could only feel his head separate from his body while he was flying in the air until he fell to the ground. He felt that he could still move and feel his body, and as soon as he had closed his eyes he was whole again. Issei instinctively reacted and dodged a blow that was going to his chest. He did not have time to think and find logic for what had just happened since he was in the middle of a fight. Issei just landed another big blow to Kiss Shot's face to rip his head off again. The girl's head regenerated instantly and she returned the blow by removing Issei's head again. Issei's head also regenerated completely, both returned the blows and ripped each other's heads off again and again. Kiss Shot just laughed while Issei continued returning the blows. Kiss Shot. Ha. Issei at one point took the girl's fist and broke it. Issei with a strong blow sent the vampire flying, causing her to crash against a wall. Kiss Shot tried to get up, but he was alone. He received a bullet in the head. His head had exploded from the shot of Issei's revolver. Issei just watched as his head quickly regenerated to look at Issei. Kiss Shot. What a nice toy, though. That really hurt me, he said standing up. Issei. Don't think I'll hold back, I will fight with everything I have, he said while his revolver began to fill with rays. The clouds were beginning to gather around the stadium, causing several lightning bolts to strike. Kiss Shot could only watch as Issei was about to pull the trigger of her revolver, and when he did so a large hole appeared in her stomach, she couldn't even see the bullet. Issei only smiled so that at incredible speed he hit Kiss Shot, sending her flying again. Kiss Shot recomposed himself to keep up with Issei. They began a hand-to-hand battle, each blow destroyed the limbs of each of them, blood flew throughout the stadium, and although after a few seconds the black hair evaporated. Who saw the battle were somewhat disgusted by so much blood. Issei fired with his revolver while Kiss Shot used his vampire powers to make air waves repel the bullets. Issei at one point made Kiss Shot's head explode with a shot, he only retreated a few meters and stood on top of a streetlight. Kiss Shot. Hahaha, this is getting interesting, she has never fought alongside someone before, she said, while Issei watched her from the ground. Can I tell you a secret? I was human before too, but I've been a vampire for many years, and I barely remember my years when I was a human. Maybe for you humans are innocent, fragile people who couldn't even handle a tiny supernatural being, and you're right, they are weak, like cattle. And when you have been devouring them for so many years you forget and stop feeling empathy. Issei. I understand but I still have to stop you, and when I defeat you I will return to my friends and continue my life. This shot. Ha 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 ha, I already know that, but I won't let myself win either. The woman using her speed had hit Issei in her breasts, shattering her ribs. Issei felt his own bones go through her kidneys as he was slammed against a wall. The blonde had taken Issei by the legs to throw him into the air with great force. Issei's guts flew out as he tried to stabilize himself, while the blonde only had a somewhat arrogant smile. Issei joined her body again, but the blonde made a big jump to launch a large fireball towards Issei. Issei was engulfed by the flames, while Kiss Shot had already touched the ground again. She just watched with a somewhat arrogant smile the flames that had consumed Issei's body, but she was shocked when she saw Issei clear and extinguish the flames while he was intact. Issei. You know how to attack a dragon with fire. It something stupid. Issei only smiled so that his pupils became slanted, horns coming out of Issei's head, while the Kiss Shot smile disappeared. Issei had taken Kiss Shot's head at great speed and slammed it against the ground. She could only spit out blood as she felt how her skull was crushed by Issei's great force. Issei only raised his hand to see how the woman's head was completely crushed by her force. Issei. You know, knowing that even if I crush your head or heart you won't die, there's no need for me to hold back at all, so come on Kiss Shot, let's dance. Kiss Shot's body moved only for his head to regenerate again. This once she just frowned to start launching shock waves trying to hurt Issei. The wave when it collided with Issei only made him a few scratches. Issei just smiled when he saw that and continued with the battle. Issei crushed, destroyed, and of course dominated in battle by using his dragon powers. His resistances had increased in a monstrous way. The Kiss Shot blows no longer made his bones and limbs fly away, now they were like normal blows that barely hurt him. The blonde, seeing that, only frowned even more. She really knew that the boy still had a lot of power, and that before he was just playing with her, but now she knew that it was official. Issei was double, no, 3 times as strong as her, he doubled her in every way. Issei had already dominated the battle completely, now he was using his sharp claws to tear out and cut the stomach, along with the blonde's limbs, while she was alone and could look at Issei somewhat annoyed. She had no choice, and she stepped back to pull out her sword Kakorwatari. Seeing that, Issei just smiled, she knew that that sword could surely cut him in half, but she knew that her dragon resistance along with her hard scales could stop the blade of the sword. She made a cut which Issei stopped with her hands. Kiss Shot was surprised to see that, but she saw something that bothered Issei a little. Issei's palms were bleeding, he had used his dragon scales to make the blade of the sword, unable to pierce his skin, but it seems that the sword was stronger and sharper, so that his scales could stop it completely. Issei kicked Kiss Shot away, she saw how her palms healed instantly, and using her vampiric powers, he made her hands grow into roots again. They were trying to catch the vampire, but she easily and elegantly cut her roots. She took one of her roots and pulled it hard to make Issei attack her. This one of hers with her sword pierced Issei's stomach making him spit out blood, but before she could draw her sword again Issei with her hand only stuck the sword deeper. Kiss Shot couldn't move the sword at all, she was using all her strength, but Issei's strength surpassed her. Issei just smiled so that when they were face to face, he would use his dragon breath to disintegrate the blonde's face. Issei separated from her seeing how her face was on fire. Issei smiled when he saw that, but she spit out blood when she felt the pain of the cut on her abdomen. He noticed how her wound was closing slower than normal, which made him click his tongue. The blonde, after putting out the fire on her face, saw an Issei with a little more anger, not because of the pain he was causing her, but because he knew that Issei was just playing with her. Kiss Shot. Why don't you kill me? You could have killed me several times, why did not you do it? Issei. Because it's simple, I don't want to do it, she said, surprising the blonde. I'm not going to kill you, I'm just going to make you surrender. Kiss Shot only frowned even more upon hearing that, the boy was just playing with her, he just took a fighting stance again and launched himself at Issei again. This time the blonde was fighting with all her power and skill. Issei, seeing that, only smiled to counteract the girl's attacks. He knew that now he was probably going to kill him, but the fight seemed more and more fun to him. In the stands, Ayuki was trying not to see the fight, blood and guts were flying everywhere, and she didn't really like seeing that. She was thinking about why Kiss Shot was so upset when he saw that Issei didn't want to kill her, why it's all about that. They had never heard that a vampire could return their servants to normal. If they had heard that some servants had returned to normal. By killing their masters. Yuki was putting the pieces of the puzzle together, why he got so upset with Issei for not wanting to kill her, and even though he is basically the strongest of the vampires, he surely couldn't turn Issei back to normal unless he will kill her. Yuki, already knowing what she wanted, the vampire saw Issei and, taking out her wings, she launched herself to stop them. Issei only watched as Yuki headed towards him for some reason. Issei put aside the battle to catch the girl in the air while she moved away from Kiss Shot. Yuki. Issei. I know what she really wants. She wants. Kiss Shot. Shut up you disgusting succubus. This shot began to launch shock waves towards both of them, but Issei, flying in the air, easily dodged them. Issei. Yuki, tell me later I have to stop her he said to leave her in the stands again. Yuki. Wait. Issei began to fly through the air in the direction of Kiss shot, he dodged her shock waves until he was a few centimeters away from her. Issei's claws had pierced her heart, Issei's claws had pierced her flesh and bone, until he had the woman's heart in her hands. She only felt a great throbbing pain in her chest, but she just pierced Issei's heart with her sword, making him spit out a large amount of blood. Issei squeezed Kiss shot's heart until it exploded, causing the blonde to move away from Issei, spitting out a lot of blood. Issei also walked away from the woman, still having Kokoro Tori piercing her heart. Issei just ripped the sword from his chest so that his flame could heal him quickly. Issei just watched as Kiss shot was on his knees while his heart and the big hole Issei made by ripping it out healed. Issei. Enough, I don't want to continue hurting you he said looking at the blonde. Kiss shot. Shit looks like your idiot friends already took it. Hearing that, Issei felt more people approaching until many footsteps were heard running through the halls of the stadium until it showed that the entire DXD group along with Revi were seeing Issei. Rias. Ice. Issei. Guys, what are you doing here deactivated his dragon powers. Yuki. I called them Issei you have to stop this what she wants is. Kiss shot. Shut up this is all your bucking fault I should have devoured you when you were unconscious. The blonde only threw a large shock attack towards Yuki, trying to kill her, but Issei with her speed, was able to receive her blow, causing Issei's entire body to explode. Issei, still apparently alive, sank his fangs into the blonde's neck, causing a large yellow flash to mow down everything. This shot could only feel all his strength being absorbed by Issei, while the albino's body slowly regenerated. This shot could only laugh a little madly as he felt how his body was slowly losing strength. Issei and Kiss shot fell to the ground while Issei continued absorbing the vampire's life force until the blonde's body looked like that of an old man. Issei now completely naked removed his fangs from the woman's neck to look into her eyes. End music. Kiss shot. Haha, what's wrong my servant? I still have a little blood left in my body, if you don't kill me now I will regenerate he said looking at Issei. Yuki. Issei, don't do it, what she wants is that. She wants to die. Hearing that, Issei just stood in shock and looked at Kiss shot. Issei. What? That's true. Yuki. No vampire can make his servants human again, the only way for a servant to become normal again is by killing his master. Issei just looked at Kiss shot who hit his head down while he let out tears. Issei. That is it true? Kiss shot. Kiss shot. Sigh. Yes. It's true he said to look at Issei. The life of a vampire like me is boring, you don't age, you have nothing, everything what I ever wanted was corroded by time, dying was the last thing I had left, I wanted to die. I have been to many places looking for the best place to die and I must say that Japan is a nice place. And now you will kill me, my servant he said while caressing Issei's cheeks. Issei's friends watched and listened to the conversation very carefully since according to what Yuki and Ashino had told them, that woman on the floor was the famous Kiss shot that they were looking for so much. Issei. How the hell can you do that to me I can't kill you and if you wanted to die, why did you ask me for help in that underground he said looking at the blonde. Kiss shot. That time was different because I was afraid of dying, I was afraid of leaving this world. I was afraid that I would never return exist. But now. There is no other way for this to end, just kill me, that is my last wish, please kill me my servant. Yuki. Don't do it Issei. Kiss shot. You shut up mobile food you are just a nuisance. Kiss shot looked at Yuki angrily, but at that moment she felt something wet fall on her cheeks, she just looked up to see an Issei releasing small tears from her eyes. Issei just left Kiss shot on the ground while he got up, the boy alone went to the center of the stadium and roared loudly. Issei. Ashino meme I know you are listening and seeing me so get the buck out Ashino meme. Issei had shouted the name of his former teacher at the top of his lungs, while everyone else who saw Issei watched closely what he had just done. The boys don't hear anything at all, but at that moment they could hear the voice of a certain blonde. Ashino. Hahaha, how excited are you, Issei-kun, tell me, did something good happen to you? Everyone at that moment saw Ashino sitting while he drank a Coca-Cola in a VIP box at the stadium. Ashino just put aside what he was doing and jumped to Issei's side. Issei. Ashino, you know everything tell me how can I make us all happy he said looking at the man. Ashino. First of all, put on some pants, you embarrass the ladies who see us he said, looking at the fact that most of the girls were blushing, avoiding looking at Issei's big and imposing thing. Issei just snapped his fingers so that a pair of pants appeared and he quickly put them on. Issei. And tell me, is there any way Kiss shot can live? Ashino. Unfortunately there isn't he said disappointing everyone but there is a way that everyone can be unhappy. Issei. What? Ashino. A way in which everyone will be unhappy. If they do what he told them, maybe and just maybe you can recover part of the little humanity you have left, Issei, he said looking at the boy. If you do this it would make you a possessed vampire. Something much weaker than a half vampire. You will be able to walk under the sun again, and the desire to devour humans will be unnecessary for you. Basically it will be like before. Although you would possibly have some side effects. And as for Kiss Shot. She would no longer be Kiss Shot, Accelerate or Iron Heart under Blade. It would be something much weaker than that. And you could also walk under the sun. But you will both be tied to each other forever. If one of you dies on another one. 2. Are you okay with this? Kiss Shot. No, not at all. I don't want to continue living, so shut up, you disgusting exorcist. This is my life and Ashino. Your life is now in Issei's hands, so he is the one who decides, he said simply. Kiss Shot just looked with some despair at Issei as he crawled a little. Kiss Shot. Please, my servant. Kill me, he said looking at Issei. Issei only clenched his fists with some anger, while he turned to look at Kiss Shot. Kiss Shot, upon seeing Issei's eyes, saw that the death he longed for would never come. Issei. I can't and I won't, he said looking seriously at Kiss Shot. Kiss Shot. Why? Issei. How the hell do you ask someone who became attached to you to kill you? I literally watched you grow. You could even say that I fell in love with every version of you. How the buck are you asking me to kill you? Issei just looked at Kiss Shot with some anger as she began to cry. Issei only approached the vampire while Issei gently took her and brought her closer to her neck. Issei. Maybe she sounds very selfish, but please fulfill your servant's whim. He lives and lives for me. Kiss Shot. Sniff sniff, damn. I got a very capricious servant, he said while he gave her a tender kiss on his cheek. Kiss Shot only stuck his fangs into Issei's neck while he was doing the same. They were both covered by a golden light. As she became bigger and stronger, the sun began to rise, while the golden light mowed down everyone. Eventually the light faded as the sun illuminated two figures in the stadium. The sun was illuminated and bathed the Kiss Shot girl and Issei with its light. They were both lying on the grass while both appeared to be unconscious. Time skip. A now fully recovered Issei can be seen while he was looking at the city from the abandoned buildings next to an Ashino who was smoking. Ashino. So everything ended well then. You returned with your girls and friends, now you can go back to your normal life again, right? He said looking at Issei. Issei. It seems that way, though. Sigh. Now I have one more small responsibility, he said while looking at the time. I think I have to feed him. See you later, Ashino, he said as he left leaving an Ashino. Ashino. Haha, young people nowadays. They are very interesting and crazy, he said while continuing to smoke. Issei was only walking through the hallways of the abandoned school. He alone headed towards an area that was somewhat newer and in better condition than normal where a Kiss Shot girl was waiting for him. He just sat next to her while he took off his shirt, revealing her neck. Issei. Time to eat, he said so that the loli would open her mouth and start sucking some of Issei's blood. She just sucked Issei's blood in a cute and somewhat adorable way. After she stopped feeding she just sat next to Issei without looking at him or saying a word to him. Issei just sighed at the vampire's current behavior, but he just hugged her, which upset the vampire a little. Issei. It doesn't matter if you hate me, I will live with that hatred forever if necessary, he said, looking at the blonde. I already told you, even if it's selfish I want you to continue living, I won't let you kill yourself or someone else. I killed you, I will make your life stop being boring if necessary, but I will always be with you, for now we can start again. Asa Kizumogatari. It you seems. He said looking at the blonde. She just snorted a little while she tenderly returned the hug. Kiss Shot. You better not regret your words. Baka. Heart 69 returned home after the events in the Kiss Shot arc, and Issei can be seen calmly lying on his bed while each of the girls in his harem hug him. Issei. Hey girls, I don't mind you hugging me, in fact I think it's cute and I'm a little used to it, but why do you behave like that now? He said looking at the girls who didn't let go of him at all. Rias. It's your fault for disappearing for a whole week, you had us very worried, he said while he hugged Issei's breasts. Yuri. Ice-kun, you are very bad for having your wives worried, he said looking at Issei. Asia. We were very worried, he said while he also hugged Issei's chest. Azara. Yes, but when you returned again we discovered that not only did you become a vampire, but you had also slept with Yuki-chan, he said, looking at the succubus also hugging Issei. Yuki. Icon and I love each other now, he said, hugging Issei possessively. Issei. Okay, but please calm down. Sigh. I really missed you, he said looking at his girls. Rias. We're still upset about being a womanizer, she said looking at Issei with a tender pout. Issei. Well. I think I can fix that, he said while kissing Rias. Issei started kissing each of the girls until the kisses escalated and it became a crazy night of non-stop hex for Issei. Since the boy had returned he had some extra responsibilities like feeding the Kiss Shot girl at the abandoned school and also helping Ashino with some of the eccentricities that were trying to attack the humans. Issei didn't mind that much, but he was really running out of time to play video games or spend time alone with his friends. Issei, after thinking this, just continued on his crazy night with his girlfriends while the big moon illuminated the sky. On another side, in a certain house of a certain fallen angel, you can see how he was sleeping, but it seemed like he was having a nightmare. Little by little he began to sweat and move in his bed, and in a moment he had quickly gotten up, suddenly waking up from his nightmare. Azazel. It was a dream, he said while breathing heavily. The crow only tried to calm down by breathing and sighing deeply, trying to calm his nerves, but he still did not calm down. The crow simply got up from his bed with purple silk sheets and went to a part of the room where there was a liquor bar. Azazel. Shit. I thought a couple of drinks would help me not dream about anything and sleep much better, he said while he held his head. The man just took a glass of whiskey and drank it in one gulp while he continued thinking about his nightmare. Azazel. I hadn't had nightmares since my banishment, he said seriously. I'm Skip Issei's house mansion. You can see how our beloved albino got up, but when he saw himself in the mirror he just smiled very happily while he went to make breakfast. After a few minutes in which each of the girls got up, they got ready to go to school like every day. Although I missed them since Issei was not with them, they just left that aside to go down to the kitchen for breakfast. As they slowly descended the stairs, they noticed the delicious aroma of eggs and bacon. Out of curiosity, they went to see who the chef was cooking, and when they got to the kitchen, they only saw an Issei with an apron with a heart embroidery, while she had a big smile. Issei. Good morning my beautiful girlfriends, how are you today? He said while having a beautiful smile. The girls, seeing Issei's totally happy and cheerful smile, blushed because of how cute he looked, but then they were surprised since Issei was not normally so lively, especially on a morning of classes. Rias. Be good morning Ice, you look very happy, he said looking at the albino. Issei. Why not be? Today is a beautiful day, and when I saw them sleeping, I decided to make them a big breakfast because I love them, he said while still cooking. The girls, upon hearing Issei's words, blushed, especially when they heard the part where he said that he loves them. They simply smiled tenderly and let Issei prepare breakfast. After a few minutes everyone in Issei's house was awake while eating the big breakfast that Issei prepared. Asia. Exquisite Issei-san's food is the best, he said while filling his cheeks with Issei's food, making her look like a squirrel. Azara. It seems that Ani-chan is very happy, she said looking at Issei, who continued with a big smile. You. With the noise they made last night, I'm not surprised, she said while eating quietly. The boys were still doing their thing, but at that moment Red and Kisara had gone down together while laughing. Kisara. Good morning guys, he said happily. Red. Yes, good morning, he also said happily. The boys, seeing how together and very friendly both adults were, only saw Issei, who saw both adults while his hair covered Issei's eyes. Hiba and Yu simply told Red how Issei saw them, which made the dragon pale. Issei simply approached Red with a kitchen knife in his hand and he was already expecting the worst, but when Issei was face to face with Big Red, he simply smiled and hugged him. Issei. Good morning Red, he said while he hugged Red as if she were his father. All the boys were shocked by that while Red looked in disbelief at the way Issei greeted him. Yuri. Issei, aren't you upset with Red for being so beholden to your mother? He said looking at the albino in shock. Issei. Not at all, I'm glad that you are together, in fact I would be much happier if I were dating Oka-san, he said with a big smile. Red. Really, he said looking at Issei. Issei. Of course I would love to have you as a father, he said with a thumbs up. Kisara. Ara, Issei-chan is very happy to have Red come with me, said with a beautiful smile. Well, maybe that will happen, just wait, said hugging his son. Both adults simply ate the breakfast that Issei prepared in the living room, while Issei's other classmates watched in shock. Tiba. Okay, something's wrong with Issei. All. Yes, time skip. Issei walks with a big smile through the streets of Kuo towards his school, while his other classmates went with him, only for them to see Issei completely surprised. Asia. What could have happened to Issei-san? Kaneko. Maybe he hit his head. Became. Or maybe someone impersonated Ani-chan, he said looking at his brother. Rias. He didn't create it. Yui and Lin verified that in the shape of his necklace, it must be something else, he said, thinking about what it could be. Giba. How about we make him bother? Maybe it will explode and return him to normal. He said while taking out a hammer. You? Yes, I and Gasper can't say that it was an accident, he said, while Gasper looked at Issei somewhat seriously. Gasper? That's not my senpai, he said seriously. Rias? No, we can't hurt Issei, we have to find out what's wrong with him and rip that problem from the roots, he said it would be. Bizarra. So in the meantime Issei will stay like this? He said looking at Issei happy and pleased that he had a big smile. Rias? I'm afraid so, for now we just have to keep an eye on him, I'll call an expert, maybe he knows what's happening to Issei. On another side, Azazel. It's always the same dream. The world is a mess, or rather in ruins. They don't understand it, they believe it was the fault of technology, it returns to its primitive state where they lived in caves, and they were afraid to go out. We are once again the bad guys in the story. Remember? How in our exile? Not only that, they worship a false messiah. One who descends from heaven. The sky covered in ashes, whose only light is the fire that comes out of it and destroys what little it has. Remains of humanity. And that false messiah descends from enormous tentacles. And amorphous bodies. Hell literally ascended into their world. And the messiah brings no salvation or hope, just madness. Ezekiel. Is that what you've been dreaming of? He said, looking at the man seriously. Azazel. Yes. And every night he shows his face. That lunatic Rizvan. Ezekiel. I was not afraid when I was expelled from heaven. I was not afraid when I faced him to the demons and angels looking for a home. But I haven't had this fear since. Ezekiel. Since. Azazel just stayed silent while he lowered his head, but the Fallen One simply sensed what the Fallen One was referring to. Azazel, that was thousands of years ago. Now it's just a legend. Azazel. And us for the humans. And the primals for us, but what if? Ezekiel. Enough. We must prepare for the meeting. King Devluk will arrive from his trip in a couple of weeks, as Princess Devluk informed us. Plus, there is the Treaty of Extra Species. Azazel. Humanity is not ready for that. Ezekiel. And the life forms outside the earth, yes. Azazel. First we must take care of Rizvan. By the way, your daughter. Ezekiel. I know. The date of his mother's death is approaching, he said seriously. Elsewhere, Kuo Academy. Anisei can be seen sitting in the student council while Ashino was checking it out with Revi. Ashino. It seems that he is physically fine, so there is nothing to worry about. On the other hand, his psychological condition was apparently affected, he said, while looking at Anisei with a big smile, hugging Benya as if she were a stuffed animal, which made him blush a lot. To the Shinigami. Sona. And how could that happen? He said, looking at the blonde with the goatee. Ashino. There are only two reasons to explain what happens to Issei. The first is that he is really so happy that he behaves like this, or the second is that he was cursed, he said while sitting on the sofa in the place. He is. See, cursed, but who? Sona. Yes, basically Issei is antisocial towards strangers or people he doesn't care about, he said while looking at Issei. Issei. How rude, Sona-chan. But I forgive you because I love you so much, he said, kissing the black-haired girl, causing her to blush. Ashino. I think the second option is the real reason why he behaves like this. You. What kind of idiot curses Issei? And more like this, he said while Issei hugged everyone. Iri. Come on, Ice-kun, sit on my lap, he said happily. Issei quickly dove into the girl's lap while she petted him. Iri. Gigi, he looks like a child, he said, looking at Issei tenderly. Ashino. Well, according to the symptoms of extreme affect that he has towards the people he appreciates, he would say that he was a Cupid, he said with a smile. Everyone. Cupid. Ashino. It's an option, they are the only ones who cause this type of effect in people, they are in charge of giving a lot of love and blah, blah, blah to couples, he said, while lighting a cigarette. Revi. So you have to find that Cupid and make him remove the curse from Issei, he said, looking at Issei's companions. Hineko. Is it really necessary? He said while Issei hugged her with a lot of love. I already got attached to this way of being of Issei-kun. Ashino. Well, you can leave it like that, but keep in mind that Issei is now a kind of pacifist, he won't even be able to hit someone, so when it's time to fight against those magical terrorists, they will be in trouble, he said while looking at his companions. See Issei. Rias. Well, it's decided, we have to return to Issei, but in the meantime it will be better for us to go back to class and for you two to leave, he said, looking at Ashino and Revi. Ashino. Ooh, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, Revi and I are now at the academy, he said, taking out a paper. Revi-chan will be a new student and I will be her teacher, I will be the new school nurse. Nice to meet you, my students, he said while having a smile. All that. Issei. Yee, Revi and Ashino-sensei are now at my school, she said while she hugged both of them. Ashino. As the original Issei would say. This is going to be a long day. Art 70 Servant of Love. The day at Kuo Academy you could see the girls with big blushes, the boys with hateful looks, and all that caused by our beloved protagonist. Issei, thanks to a Cupid's curse, apparently is now more than happy and full of love to give. Literally every time he sees someone he loves or cares about, he hugs him with a lot of love. Issei walked through the halls of the academy with a big smile, making many girls blush and causing hatred in all the boys at school. Issei greeted all of his classmates kindly, while he had a big smile that seemed indelible. He simply sat in his seat while he continued to have a big smile. Teacher. Mr. Haidu, is something wrong with you? He said, something restless, looking at his student. Issei. Nothing at all, I'm just happy, he said while dazzling everyone with his smile. The cane. It's very bright, he said, covering his eyes. Sarah. Why does Ani-chan have to look so handsome when he smiles, he also said, covering his eyes. After that moment in which more than one of the boys envied Issei for being more handsome than them, classes began quietly, or so they would like to say. Apparently Issei not only began to help all of his classmates when they did not understand something, but he also began to teach classes, substituting for the history teacher for a few moments when he had to fix some problems. Essay. This, my dear companions, is how the god of deception was defeated and sealed by a cool guy in a black trench coat, he said, while his other companions began to applaud. DIRL1. Amazing, Haidu-kun is very good at telling stories, he said while seeing an Issei smile. GUI1. Damn, it was exciting, he also said, applauding. Issei simply smiled and bowed as he took back his attention. After a while longer, lunchtime had started, and during that time Issei's classmates had arrived along with Ashino and Rivai. Rivai. I hate school, they're just full of idiots who stare at you, she said, annoyed. Issei. You should be happy, Rivai-chan, that means you are very beautiful, she said, looking at the girl who blushed at Issei's comment. Ashino. Well, I think I know what could have happened to Issei, she said, looking at the albino. Issei, did you happen to hit a cupid? Issei. Yes, I hit it a few days ago, she said with a big smile. All. You did what? Ashino. Sigh, that explains everything, apparently he was cursed for that. Issei, why did you hit a cupid? Issei. Well. Flashback a few days ago, the golden and winged figure flies through the skies of the city. It stops suddenly and in the distance he sees a couple, the boy gathering all his courage, apparently he was confessing to a girl. He had some pretty flowers while he saw that girl he liked so much. Moriko. Please go out with me, said the young man with glasses while his heart stopped. Those seconds he was waiting for the girl's response seemed to pass slower than normal. The girl simply crossed her arms while she seemed a little thoughtful. Her look expresses how upset she was. It seems how insistent the boy was, but an idea invaded his head, admiring his courage and insistence. In a small whisper emitting through neurons, I thought that maybe giving the boy a chance wouldn't be so bad. Time stopped, little by little the seconds seemed like hours for the boy. Somehow his heart filled with hope when he saw the small blush that the girl had along with a small smile. The boy only thought, finally those days of rejections are over, expressed her heart in a millisecond. The girl's lips moved wanting to let out a few words, but a flash of pink impacted her to disappear in an instant. Moriko. I'm sorry, Kore. You're not my type, you should stop with this, everyone already knows that you propose to any girl who is nice to you, he said it would be looking at the boy. The girl simply turned around and was leaving the place, but the heartbroken boy said a few words to her. Kore. What? No, Moriko, wait, my feelings are real, the boy was interrupted by the girl. Moriko. Enough, Kore. Besides, WHO would date an armor-obsessed otaku like you? She said with a look of contempt that mutilated the boy's heart. The girl did not look back and left the place, while the boy simply began to shed manly tears while he threw away his bouquet of flowers. Kore. Whispering, I like armor because when you have it on nothing hurts you. Not even the words, he said while his voice sounded brittle. In the distance a small child with golden hair and wings laughed, celebrating maliciously. Cupid. Hahaha, another one for Cupid, Samakukuku. Little Cupid was just laughing, but at that moment a voice surprised him a little. Issei. I thought those dates would be for falling in love, not for screwing people over, and Issei said with a bad face because of what he had just seen. Cupid. They are, that arrow helped him fall in love with his best friend. A person in love would never betray his true love and obviously would despise those who try to separate them, he said, while he had a smile and a great pride was evident. But tell me, human, how can you see me? Are you a magician? Issei. No, I'm something much worse, he said while some chains trapped Cupid. Cupid. But what? Issei. People like you make me sick. You know. That boy was a good person, he will surely suffer a lot because of you, he said, looking at Cupid with his frown on his face. Cupid. Let go of me, this is none of your business, neither demons nor angels can intervene in the work of a Cupid. Because ours is love and our responsibility to spread it throughout humanity, he said, struggling trying to free himself. The albino simply approached Cupid while his revolver was in his hand, he just pointed it at Cupid's head, terrifying him. Issei. You call that love? You were able to make her fall in love with her, but what about the other guy, he said looking at the annoyed Cupid. Cupid. When you fall in love, a person always gets hurt. Sometimes those closest to you, sometimes strangers. In this case it was his turn. Well, it was not his destiny, he said still with pride. Issei just got annoyed with every word of that Cupid, he really wanted to kill him for what he did, but he knew that he was right, he knows it himself very well, but still. There is something that bothered him. Issei. And what makes you think that you can choose a person's destiny? He asked looking at Cupid with contempt. Cupid. Give me everything right, they are humans. And we are the closest thing to gods. Or at least for me. Who the hell do you think you are? Surely you are just a demon, you just have to spread the sins by somewhere else. Now let me go before. Issei at that moment only slammed Cupid's head against the ground while his black trench coat appeared, surprising Cupid. Cupid. Why you are? Issei. You know. I hate people like you, they play with people's feelings simply because they do whatever they want without thinking about the consequences. You said that the fate of that boy is already in your hands, well. I will tear your hands off and take your destiny to change it. No one but ourselves can play with our destiny, you understand me? Nobody. Issei's shadows began to take shape, wolves appeared behind him and smelled Cupid's body as if they were going to devour him. Yui. Master, Cupids are the only beings whose image resembles that of an angel. Lin. If the factions don't touch them it's because. Cupid. No, let me, you're crazy, he said while the wolves little by little seemed like they would jump on him to devour him. Issei. You know, I think killing you would be a waste, so I think I have a better idea, he said with a macabre smile. The ground cracked so that a light similar to fire came out. From this crack thousands of souls in banishment could be seen, while Issei looked at Cupid with an evil smile. Issei. I think I will give you a tour of the 9 circles of hell. You will feel and experience each of the pains that you yourself have ever caused. Cupid, he said as Issei's smile widened. Cupid just screamed for help, but no one could hear him. Issei only put Cupid in the place, while he simply watched as little by little he began to suffer and cry. After a few minutes in which Cupid almost lost his sanity, Issei simply left him so that he could cry on the ground. Issei. I hope you've learned your lesson. You don't always have to act like an idiot, he said looking at Cupid on the ground. Cupid simply clenched his fists and ground his teeth in anger as he looked at Issei, and he simply felt hatred now. Cupid. Damn. I will show you why you should never mess with a servant of the god of love. Cupid barely stood up to shoot a black arrow, but Issei caught the arrow in the air and broke it in two. Issei. What was that for? Would that make me an emo or something? He said with some mockery. Cupid. I am possible. That arrow would have ruined any demon or angel. Your love life would be ruined even in 2 reincarnations, he said, looking at Issei in shock. Lin. Maybe so, but Master is basically the strongest god in history. Your date wouldn't have even worked anyway. Cupid. What? Issei simply gave Cupid a big blow, sending him to the ground so that Issei could see him seriously. Cupid. I won't forgive you. I don't care that you are a god. Cupid at that moment took out a light blue arrow. He shot it towards Issei, but when it hit Issei he simply didn't feel pain. Issei pulled out the arrow as if it were nothing and then hit Cupid again. He bounced against the ground and was knocked out by the albino's blow, while he simply sighed. Issei. Hey, are you still alive? He said looking like they are totally knocked out. Yui. Leave it, Master, it's just garbage. One of his arrows would be like a mosquito bite, besides it's nothing without his arrows. Issei. Yui. Lin, what was that black arrow? Lin. Well, I don't know much about the servants of the god of love. Although one of them loved madly. Issei. Well. Looking at Cupid's arrows. Haha, I think I have a little idea, he said with a smile and flashed back. You. And what did you do with the arrows? He asked curiously. Issei. I used them to give a pretty girlfriend to the boy who was rejected before. I didn't do anything wrong, she was upset, and so was he, so I thought they would be a good couple. After that I played a little with the idiot's arrows of Cupid, and the other dates that were left I burned, he said all that with a big smile. Sona. A blue arrow. Ashino. Issei. He said putting his hand on the boy's shoulder. You are a great hero, he said raising his thumb. Giba. You are my idol, Issei. Not only did you help that boy, but you also made better use of those dates than that Cupid. You really are an idol, he said crying comically. You. That's my brother. Revi. Seriously, is an arrow capable of all that? He said looking at Ashino. Ashino. Well, I think I already know what happened to him. That Cupid shot you an anti-mood arrow, he said, leaving everyone surprised and curious. Rias. What is that? Ashino. Well, let's say that he simply inverted Issei's personality. Cupid thought it would be a good idea, since the normal Issei is the one who conquers all the girls, he said, as Issei walked towards Tsubaki. Issei. Hello Tsubaki-chan, he said while he is holding her chin gently. Tsubaki. Issei-kun. Issei got closer to the girl and kissed her in front of everyone, leaving them in shock. Issei. You look very pretty today, Tsubaki-chan. I feel like making you mine right now, he said, while the black-haired girl was blushing. Rias. Ice, what are you doing, she said angrily. Ashino. I told you, Issei's personality was reversed, so now he is a total womanizer and is almost an nymphomaniac, he said, while Issei stood behind Murayama and Akeno starting to touch their breasts little by little. The arrow will take effect until that Issei's personality is completely upside down. Akeno. Ice-kun is out of control, she said while feeling Issei's hand on one of his attributes. Aki. Issei-kun is not in front of everyone, said blushing. Ashino. Well, the best thing would be for you to tell your brother so they can fix this, otherwise Issei will expand his harem much more, he said, looking at an Issei cornering a Revi. Issei. You know, Revi, I still remember that nice kiss you gave me when we were kids. I would like to repeat it again, he said looking at the girl. Rias. Okay, we have to fix this now. All. Hi, Revi. I don't know, I think I like it, she said while clinging closer to Issei. Time skip. All the boys can be seen on a train on the way to the underworld while they had Issei tied up so that he doesn't try to seduce any girls. Zenobia. So Issei has to be cured by the Cupids themselves. He said looking at Ashino. Ashino. That's right, they are the only ones who can remove the curse in Issei, or that's what they say. Irina. Only Issei would think of hitting a cupid, even though he did it for a good cause. Asia. Irina-san, but aren't they angels? Irina. In a way they are, but they are not 100% affiliated with heaven. Michael Sama likes the idea of them spreading love to people, but they are creations of the gods Cupid and Hymenaeus. They adopted the name Cupid, but I'm sure Michael Sama would be upset that Issei-kun hit one of them. Ashino. Or maybe he reacts like we did when he told us the story, he said with a smile. You. Me.5050, she said simply. Giba. So not only will we have to face an ancient demon king who threatens to awaken dark deities, we could also have a war against love itself. Are you proud of this? He said looking at Issei. Seeing where Issei was tied, he was no longer there and in his place was Cerberus licking his paw. Asia. I scream when I see Issei literally between his legs looking at his panties. Issei. I feel alone, comfort me, he said while an Asian woman began to caress Issei's head. Asia. Now, I'm here, Issei-san said with a blush, but with a nice smile. Ashino. Ha, this Issei is really different, he said with a smile. I'm Skip Gremory Mansion. When the boys arrived at the great mansion of the Gremory family, they were greeted by multiple maids whom Issei tried to seduce without success, since the girls tied his hands and legs again. The Gremory family was happy that their daughter and her friends will arrive. Venelana greeted her daughter and her friends, Zeodicus, Milikas, Cerziches and Graphia, who saw an Issei tied and gagged, so that he would not do something crazy, simply greeted him, while he gave her a smile, trying to return the greeting. After a while of explaining the situation to the Gremory family, Cerziches, Zeodicus and Milikas were crying comically upon hearing Issei's story. Milikas. Issei and Isama is my idol, he said looking at Issei with stars in his eyes. Zeodicus. What a nice story, damn, Ria's really found herself a great man, he said using a handkerchief to wipe his snot. Cerziches. I think I respect Issei more, he said while he wiped away some tears. Venelana. Ara, it seems that Issei-kun is a very good boy, by the way, where is he? She asked curiously. The boys saw where Issei should be tied so they wouldn't see anything, just the ropes, and at one point Issei was under Graphia's skirt looking at his panties. Issei. Wow, I didn't know you had such pompous and elegant underwear, Graphia-chan, she said, looking at the gray-haired girl's panties. This one she just blushed and tried to slap him, but he disappeared in the blink of an eye to start touching Venelana's breasts. Issei. Wow, Venelana Akasan has the same size breasts as Ria's, I thought they would be a little bigger, she said, while she was in a chibi form behind the brunette touching the woman's breasts. Zeodicus. Hey, she said annoyed looking at Issei. He only disappeared again so that he could see the charming landscape of the mansion through the window. Issei. Sigh, how boring, there is nothing to do, he said while he was bored. Ria's. You are forbidden to touch other women, especially my mother and Graphia, she said annoyed looking at Issei. Issei upon hearing that only smiled evilly to look at Ria's. When the Redeed looked at that smile she only felt a chill, but at that moment she was cornered against a wall by Issei, well he had a somewhat mocking smile. Issei. Yes. And what happens if I refuse? She said while this little by little made Ria's blush. Ria's. I she couldn't finish as she let out a cute moan when Issei bit her ear. Issei. Hahaha, you know you look very pretty, blushing, she said while she took Ria's chin. They were both about to kiss, but an alarm rang from the clock that Issei apparently had. Issei, upon hearing the alarm, all of her confident and womanizing attitude had faded, now she seemed sad, this only sigh to put on her trench coat and begin to enter one of his shadows. Issei. I'll be back in a few minutes, please don't worry about me, he said to disappear. When Issei left, Ria's just fell to the ground completely red, she was upset that she had fallen for Issei's charms, but a part of her was upset that that alarm had gone off to interrupt them. Ria's. Since taking care of Ice wears a watch, she asked, she was upset. Ashino. I gave it to them, it's so they don't forget her other responsibility, she said while taking out a cigarette and lighting it. Cerziches. Another responsibility. Do not tell me that. Revi. Yes, he is going to feed her like every day at the same time she said it would be. Venelana. Feed her. Ashino. It's been a while since he heard about many things, miss. Issei is going to feed a vampire Loli who was once a legendary vampire. He's going to feed his blood to Kiss Shot, he said, while he smoked her cigarette. Art 71 Goddess Venus. An Issei can be seen emerging from the shadows in an abandoned school. He had a somewhat sad look as he walked towards one of the rooms looking for a certain vampire girl. Upon entering the room, Issei only saw a Kiss Shot girl wearing a helmet on her head while she looked monotonously at Issei. Issei. Hello Kiss Shot, it's time to eat, she said, giving a somewhat forced smile. The little vampire only looked away while she noticed the obviously forced smile that Issei gave her. Issei knew that now their relationship was somewhat uncomfortable, but he couldn't do anything, he had already tried to talk to her many times, and this had no results like that. But he just left her alone and decided that she was the one who had to take the step in order to recover their old and friendly relationship. Issei just sighed to begin to discover her neck. The lowly, upon seeing that, calmly stood up so that she could sink her teeth into Issei's neck little by little, beginning to suck her blood, thus feeding herself. After a while in which Issei's blood was sucked, the little vampire, when finished, sat down again in the same corner where Issei found her. Issei. You know you can come with me, right? Maybe I'll introduce you to my colleagues, what do you think? He said while they were acting like lowly. Issei was a few centimeters away from caressing the vampire's head, but he took his hand away from her, giving it a small blow, pushing it away. Issei only saw that one way, but it seemed like his eyes were watering as if he were going to cry. Issei. Haha, well I better go, goodbye Kissshot, he said as he left in a shadow. I'm Skip Gremory Mansion. And Issei can be seen lying on Venelana's lap as she comically cried in front of everyone. Issei. Why does she hate me? I just didn't want to kill her, I wanted her to suggest living. Is it really so bad not to have killed her? He said while still on the woman's lap. Venelana. I don't know how to answer you, Issei-chan, sorry, she said while she caressed him. You? Issei showing emotions like sadness like that is very strange, she said looking at the boy. Ashino. Not so many in this situation, I already said it, Issei's personality was completely inverted, so now the expressionless and unsentimental Issei changed to a more expressive and sentimental one, he said, looking at this Issei almost like a little child. Venelana. Well, it's better that we go and rest a little, in a while we'll eat. Issei. Yes, food, he said getting up with a new smile while he looked like a child. Issei after that ran out like a child to wait for the food in the living room with his other classmates, while his girls only saw Issei with a small blush on their cheeks. Akeno. Ice-kun is very cute when he acts like that, like a child fufufu, he said while looking at Issei. Asia. Issei-san and something adorable and cute, he said with a smile. Bizarre. Hey, would it be wrong to grape him even though he was like this? I asked looking at his colleagues. Hineko. A little, but. Looking at Issei sitting at the table like a child waiting for food. I think an exception can be made. I'm Skip. The boys after the food was served the Gremory group ate calmly, while Issei had a big smile. Issei. Delicious, he said while continuing to eat. Venelana. Eat everything you want, Issei. We have a lot, he said with a motherly smile as he watched Issei eat. The girls discreetly took some photos of Issei eating, well you were there every time they saw Issei's innocent smile, a little blood came out of his nose. Surziches. Is it normal for him to act so childish? I asked looking at Ashino. Ashino. A little, but I'm worried that something else will happen, he said, looking at how Issei's girls looked at him in a predatory way. After the boys finished eating you can see Issei now asleep on the living room couch. Rias. Gigi, he's very cute when he sleeps, she said with a beautiful smile looking at Issei. Hineko using the force carried him to Issei, thus taking him to Ria's room letting him sleep while the other girls finished chatting with Surziches and the others. On another side, a certain crow from the Grigori organization can be seen receiving a communication circle with a Citri symbol. Azazel. Ooh Sona, what a great call you had. Sona. There is no time for that, Azazel, I'm afraid we have to write a formal apology, he said it would be. Azazel. A formal apology? He said with some mockery while drinking coffee, there is no need to write a letter, I accept the apology. Sona. It's not for you. Sighed. Issei did something bad. Azazel. What could Issei have done? He is basically a bred of God. God-level beast again, but. Ooh surprise, she turned out to be a very pretty girl who is now in love with Issei and continues to attract girls, making his nickname, Harem King Stand or something. He said while having a mocking smile. Sona. He hit a cupid, he said it would be. Azazel upon hearing that simply spit out his coffee while his eyes widened in surprise. Azazel. He did what he said in shock. At that moment another magic circle appeared in his other ear, while Valerie's voice came out of it. Valerie. Azazel, he said what the girl did through the other magic circle, we have a problem. Azazel. Yes I know, Issei did something very stupid. Hey Valerie, do you want some advice? Tell Issei to create an anti-Cupid barrier while he settled some matters, I just hope the other gods haven't found out, he said nervously. Valerie. That's not important now, let's say that. Something bad happened, he said while some explosions were heard in the background. Azazel. Totally irrelevant that you have a good day, he said while hanging up on the girl. Sona. And what will we do now? Azazel. I'll have to talk to Surziches about this later, well goodbye, I have something to do too, he said hanging up on Sona. Damn, I can't stay calm. At that moment, while the man was drinking a cup of coffee, you can see how he was in a bar, but not just any bar, it was the Sakubi bar where Yuki's mother worked. Elizabeth. Is something wrong? She said while sitting next to Azazel. Azazel. Nothing very important really, but hey, what were we up to? He said while giving a somewhat mischievous smile to the succubus. But this 8-time Skip. Surziches. Well, Sona already told me that Azazel already knows Issei's situation, so I will set up a meeting with the Roman gods to fix this, he said seriously, looking at Rias and his friends. Rias. Do you have to? I'm already fond of Ice's way of being, he said while Issei was lying on his lap sleeping. Rafia. Ria-sama. Issei couldn't stop seducing all the maids in the mansion, and he always spends his time looking at their panties and touching everyone's breasts, he said, while Issei instinctively touched Ria's breast while he was sleeping. All. We don't see the problem, they all said at the same time. Ashino. Ha 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 ha, this generation is really very interesting, he said with a smile. Time skip. Next day. The magic circle appeared very close to the territory of the Roman gods, where they were received by a fine white wooden carriage with gold lace, while they were pulled by steeds that were equally wide as the carriage. Our protagonist looked through the carriage window somewhat irritated for some reason, something more passive like that of a child, you could say. Issei. Why do we have to go see these shitty gods? Besides, in a carriage, can't we go at least in a teleportation circle? Rafia. Certainly we can, but each territory is protected by different types of magic, they would only see them as intruders, and we managed to get past their security measures, and thus we would cause great controversy with the other factions. I could interpret it as a war declaration. Issei. Sorry, did you say something? He said while he had headphones on. I was just bored with what you said, in fact I didn't listen to you after we could, he said, while having a somewhat mocking smile. Rafia simply wanted to hit Issei, but his handcuff stopped her. After a while, Issei continued looking out the window, bored while listening to Sunflower in his headphones. Issei continued looking out the window, but in a moment the boys arrived at a large residence, so large that it covered an entire mountain, full of beautiful gardens. But flowers that did not seem to lose their color and whose smell was not annoying, but rather fragrant. There were kiosks in many parts of these gardens. The largest kiosks were always full of guests who, upon seeing Issei, did not stop secretly whispering. While the boys walked, guards in Roman clothing escorted them. Issei only saw a large number of stairs. Issei only saw these stairs which led to the top, but were divided into large palaces that occupied specific parts of the mountain. Issei. What the buck? Shall we start with a 12-house dagger? Shit, I didn't bring my armor. Nor companions who have a great capacity to bleed. Although Kiba and Yu would surely want to share their cosmos with everyone, she said with a mocking smile. Rafia. Cosmos? I asked, confused. Issei. Uneducated, really. What do you talk about when you and Surziches finish having hex? She said as she looked at both of them. Surziches. Shut up, she said. She was annoyed looking at Issei, who had a mocking smile. Rafia. Well, don't lose your etiquette, we are about to be received by Greek high-ranking officers. You will apologize for what happened to Cupid. Cupid will apologize to you, and we will pretend that this never happened, she said it would be. Issei. But who said I was going to apologize? He said as a mocking smile appeared on his face. Rafia. Issei simply ran until he reached a palace. Grafia and Surziches, somewhat married to keep up with Issei, saw him looking at the great palace, while some guards asked the albino to wait. Issei. This is Cupid's palace. He said looking around. I had imagined it all pink along with hearts and heart-shaped balloons. Rafia. No, this is Venus-sama's palace. Surziches. Issei about that. Issei. Venus. I never thought I would get to meet a sailor scout, he said mockingly. Hey Surziches, Jupiter and Mars also wear skirts. Surziches. Issei, don't say that, if the Roman gods listened to you, it would only make things worse. Returning to the previous point, be careful, he said, while Issei seemed to pay attention to him. Venus is a goddess of beauty, as powerful as Venus herself, Aphrodite, but unlike her, Venus hides her beauty to seduce men in a different way than her Greek counterpart. Yui. Don't worry, master, that won't happen while we are here. Lin. Besides the fact that we are prettier than her. Issei. And what is the difference between her and Aphrodite? Surziches. Well, she represents herself as the person you love the most in this world. So whatever you do. You better not do anything. Let Grafia and I take care of it, he said. Well, these were now in the lead while still being escorted by the guards. Grafia. Surziches Sama believes that. Surziches. Yes, she said with a mission. Grafia. A part of me believes that he will see Ria's reflected in Venus. Or maybe Yui or Lin. But on the other hand, he could see how Venus's face changes to each of the girls, and that could fry his brain. But I don't think that Issei's brain is so weak for that to happen. For this, he must first die, then see Issei die. What do you think, Surziches Sama? She said looking at her husband. Surziches. Ha 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 ha, I think maybe Issei can't see through Venus's spell. He will be the first person to see her true form for centuries. That would mess him up. In trouble with Mars. Rafia. The pure hearts always end up being the airhead, she said, while watching Issei take some photos with some sculptures that were in the place. Reminds me of you. Surziches. Funny, you haven't called me an airhead since we first met. Rafia. Well, you kept flirting with me even though I was trying to kill you. Surziches. Tell me if that didn't work. She said while the gray-haired girl blushed a little. Issei. Hey, we're here, you know. She said while Issei and the guards escorting them had heard the whole conversation. Surziches. Please forget what you heard, she said while both adults were blushing with embarrassment. The boys continued walking until they took them to the main hall. They looked up and saw a large dome full of paintings and crystals that formed the image of Venus. Say. This is like a church, but at least they have better decoration, she said looking around her. Welcome, said a gentle and seductive voice that would be able to fill the heart of every man with warmth or let him be carried away by his impulses. I welcome you to my humble palace, Mr. Lucifer and Mr. Hyudu. It is my honor to have you here. Xerxes. Wow, the legend didn't lie. Graphia. What do you see? She said she jealous. Xerxes. I think we should discuss the possibility of giving Milik as a brother, she said while Graphia blushed and hit him on the head, bringing him back to reality. Now the million-dollar question, what does Asay see? The albino just looked at the woman without any expression, which made those present somewhat nervous. Asay. Ha 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 ha. The boy just started laughing while those who saw him looked at him strangely. Ha ha ha, so that's your true for me? He said while he looked at the goddess from head to toe. I must say that you have a good pair of dot. The boy didn't finish speaking as Yui and Lin took their human form and pulled Asay's cheeks. Yui. Master, don't be vulgar. Lin. Bad master. Xerxes. How is Asay? What is she really like? I asked full of curiosity. Asay. Well, I know, he said while taking out a canvas along with some brushes from his pocket size. Would you mind posing for my beautiful lady? He said looking at Venus. Venus. Ara, not at all, I would love to be portrayed as I really am, he said she with a beautiful smile. The woman only watched Asay while he painted the woman, down to the smallest detail. There came a time when the word spread and all the guards along with thousands of other people in the great palace watched Asay paint as he really was. The goddess Venus. Asay. And. Ready, he said while the people around looked at Asay while he covered the painting. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be able to portray the great goddess Venus as she really is. So admired. Everyone looked at the painting with great surprise. The majority who were men were gawking while looking at the painting, and the women could only envy the woman a little since she really was beautiful. Venus. Ara, it's really impressive, you have the makings of a painter, she said, looking at the beautiful painting of herself. Xerxes. I can die in peace now, he said while wiping away some tears. Cough. Well, Venus-sama, thank you for receiving us this way. We regret not having planned this visit in advance. Venus. Well, I think that the faster we resolve our differences, the less chance there is that our enemies will attack us separately. Besides that, I love the painting of the young Asay-sama, he said while Asay smiled totally proud. Xerxes. Well, I think we should tell him what's happening here. I'm Skip. After a few minutes in which the boys sat in the living room while Asay was between Yui and Lin's breasts, Xerxes explained exactly what was happening. Venus. This is amazing. I mean, my son's arrows don't have that ability or power, there must be some mistake. Xerxes. So there is no way for Venus-sama to reverse this? Venus. No, I mean after all arrows are made especially to help humans love each other. Not for this type of curses. Asay. Well, little brats in diapers play with people's feelings and love destinies, Asay said standing up, and one of those bastards threw me a black date that he said would make me have a horrible streak in love, even for 3 reincarnations. Venus. Forgive them, Asay-sama, my son's lackeys have become just as arrogant as him. I apologize if it is true that they help with the love destiny of humans, it is also true in heartbreak. Asay. And why do the factions give freedom to children in diapers? Graphia. Asay, she said scolding Asay. Venus. Sometimes a person's loving detachment helps us open our eyes to find the right person. Asay. You seem very wise, hahaha, well I guess you're right since I've been experiencing something similar. Venus. Gigi, I'm not just a pretty face. I was once arrogant like any god. But being the wife of one god of war and 2 of love has helped me understand many things. Asay. 2. He asked strangely while Xerxes and Graphia changed their gaze to a serene and gentle one. Venus. Cupid is not my only son. Or at least he wasn't. Before there was a god just as gentle and full of love as Anteros. He was the god of reciprocated love, despite being the youngest. Cupid always listened to him and matured at his side. But the war took him away from us. Cupid was devastated. He has not been the same since the death of his brother. I have done my best to give reciprocated love with modified arrows, but he still needs to mature. Asay-sama, my son's intentions are not bad. But everything contrary, but he still has a long way to go to become like his brother. Asay. Sigh. I understand, but please tell him that there are better ways to help others find the right person. Sometimes, having found the right person hurts a lot more than not being able to do it. Venus. I'll tell him, he said she while giving a kind and gentle smile to Asay. Asay. By the way, that blue arrow. Venus. Don't worry, one of his lackeys told me that it is the date of nostalgia. Although the one he gave you was modified. The effects will be temporary later although. He said while tears came out of Asay's ruby-colored eyes. The nostalgia I think is still there. Issei simply tried to wipe away his tears, trying not to look pathetic in front of the woman, but she was just hugging him in a motherly way. Venus. You don't have to hold back, let it all out. Issei only let out more tears as he hugged the goddess tightly. After that beautiful and emotional moment, Issei stopped crying and separated from the goddess. Issei. Thank you, I guess I needed it, he said while giving a smile to the beautiful goddess. Venus. It's okay, you know. I like you a lot, come visit me when you feel lonely or down, Issei-sama, he said with a beautiful smile. Issei. Hehehe, okay, do you know something? If you weren't married I would try to make you mine right now, he said with a big smile. Venus. Surziches. Well, I think it's time for us to leave, he said while taking Issei like a sack of potatoes. We appreciate it very much, Venus-sama. We will try to make sure this doesn't happen again. Goodbye, he said while Issei said goodbye to the goddess kindly. After the boys left, Venus watched the boys leave in the distance while she had a big smile. Venus. Issei is very daring, although to be honest. Well, he licked his lips. I would have said the same, he said mischievously. I'm skip elsewhere. On the other side of the world, in some forest full of familiars and other magical creatures, more specifically in a giant mega burrow, you can see a Norse goddess looking at multiple relics and amulets. Hela. Relic number 304, he said she held a golden bell. Nothing. Rainer. Maybe you should shake it harder, Hela-sama. Hela. There's no point, Ray-chan. He saved relics number 105 and number 44. They only managed to delay the curse. A little. Hey Tiamat, do you have any more relics? He said looking at the dragon. Fujiyama. If I were you I would say it more delicately, dragons are very jealous of their treasures. The last time someone lost one of their treasures, Tiamat-sama swore revenge on all of his. Hela. Yes, I know the story. Tiamat lost his temper, burned an entire kingdom, and dedicated the rest of his life to looking for that stupid dragon, whose descendant ended up having hex with said woman. Maybe I missed something. Rainer. Hela-sama blushing shout. Hela. Relax, Ray-chan, it was the first thing Tiamat said to them when he saw them. It just amuses me to see his surprised faces, he said with mockery. Rainer. Still I should have respect, we are Tiamat-san's guests, he said before his cell phone rang. Yes, hello. Answering. Hela. I'm surprised this place has a signal. Is it a type of magical cell phone? Rainer. Azazel-san. Hela. Now what's up with that crow? Azazel. Well, Rainer-san would ask you to bring some relics of Tiamat for my research. Hela. How annoying. Azazel. I will send you the information by email, for now keep doing your thing, goodbye. Hanging up. Hela. We have already spent a lot of time here, what happened to Issei? While both girls were talking and continuing to search for her, a blue-haired girl was cooking, while a younger blue-haired girl was watching her sitting in the dining room. Yumi. Tiamat-sama. Tiamat. What's wrong, Yumi-chan? She said with a gentle and warm voice. Are you still hungry? The cookies will be in a few minutes. Jason. I'm back, said an armored figure entering through the front door while carrying some firewood. Tiamat. Jason-kun, welcome, hurry up and wash your hands, dinner will be ready, she said while looking at the man. Jason. Yes, mom. Cough. I say, my lady. Yumi. Jason, she said getting the boy's attention. Hey, don't you think that Tiamat-sama has been a little different since? The girl blushed while she imagined her master being tamed by that albino boy. Jason. What Tiamat-sama does is none of our business, Yumi. After all, we swore to serve her and protect her with our lives. Yumi. I know, but I just miss the old mistress who motivated everything with her revenge, and now I don't know if we will be useful to her anymore, she said somewhat depressed. Jason. Well, he trusts us and leaves us in the care of his treasures. No dragon trusts his treasures like that. Yumi. Could it be? Do you still remember the first day he picked you up? Because I always do. Jason. Every day of my life, and I still remember those who didn't make it. And the tears that Tiamat-sama shed for them. So, as much as we hate Issei Hayuadu for pushing Tiamat away, some of us, we should also feel grateful for allowing us to see our master happy, he said, while the dragoness had a big smile, warm and gentle. Yumi. Maybe. You're right. Although I still disagree that Tiamat-sama uses magic to dress like that. Jason. Thank the gods. Cough. I say yes, he said as a certain fall entered the room. Rainer. Tiamat-san. Tiamat. Rainer, are you done? Or do you need more relics? Rainer. It's not about that, apparently Azazel sent me some information and relics that he wanted to borrow, but he also sent some information about what happened while we were away, he said as he began to read what happened while they were away. After finishing reading it all, Tiamat gave a loud roar of annoyance. Upon hearing some things like that, Issei had now integrated a succubus into his harem. Yumi. Please, Tiamat-sama, return to the gentle side of him, he said while being scared by the huge roar she let out. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.